We good? We're good. Good evening, everybody. Call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Carroll Township Board of Supervisors meeting for August 10th, 2026. Next item on the agenda is the fire reports. Let's see, Chief Morales. Is anybody from the fire department online?
Yes.
No. Is anybody? Oh, right. We did meet, yes, thank you, Faye. We did meet in an executive session to discuss a legal matter prior to this meeting. Does anybody have any questions about the fire reports or any comments for July 2026? Seeing none. Next is public comment. We'll remind everybody, if you do have public comment, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We do have a 5-minute time limit for any item that is not on the agenda tonight. Does anybody have any public comment? Come on.
Hello, I'm Judy Bailey, 450 East Lisburn Road, Mechanicsburg. I'm here representing the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail. I want to give an update to the South Mountain Trolley Greenway, which is a subcommittee of the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail. You may have seen in the news just this week that the Hanover Trolley Trail got a whole bunch of money and is a whole big trail group, and they're touting their Cumberland County, or their York County, but we're here too. And we're just part of the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail, not the Hanover Trail. So the South Mountain Trolley Greenway continues to make significant progress in Carroll Township. Recent accomplishments include the former railway, obtaining the property of the former railway on Old Mill Road has been purchased. And it's the part of the second segment of the railroad, of the rail trail. Reach for Recovery is what we're calling the second section. And we just completed an $18,000 grant from the South Mountain Partnership that supported engineering, legal work, and developed a conceptual plan for the trail from Old Mill Road to Route 74. Big news is McNaughton Builders and Mid-Penn Homes donated 17 acres, what would have been the Somerton Glen development. The property will remain in conservation, and initial plans include removing trash, invasive plants, and improving the property's natural condition. The future of the site is expected to provide space for an expanded trailhead for the South Mountain Trolley Greenway. I know. I couldn't believe when I got that phone call. Hoover Park Trail, and we're moving. Okay, planning continues for the trailhead that you've all heard about at Hoover Park. Anticipated construction will be mid-2027. The dates keep going by and by, but this one is going to happen. There is an existing loop trail there already that provides 1.5 miles of walking through forested areas and along the waterways, giving residents and visitors the opportunity to enjoy the park's natural setting. And dogs are allowed. In the coming year, I'll be applying to DCED for a stream crossing right behind the Devil's Eye, and roadway in is what's called the Unnamed Creek, and we need to get a bridge across that, so we'll be applying to DCED for that. And I just wanted to invite everybody that we are a community trail for everyone. Our mission is to create safe, publicly accessible trails and connections for people of all ages and abilities while conserving land and providing opportunities to enjoy the natural environment. Volunteer opportunities are available for property cleanup, invasive plant removal, future trail development, and community participation is welcome. We can be found on Facebook at South Mountain Trolley Greenway. Donations to support the project may be made through the Cumberland Valley Rail Trail Council on .org, and then selecting South Mountain Trolley Greenway. I appreciate the support of the Carroll Township Planning Commission that has a stipulation with John Ortenzio under the second warehouse on 74, that he cooperate with South Mountain Trolley Greenway. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Any other public comment this evening? Seeing none, Chief, you're up next.
Good evening, everyone. For the month of July, the officers investigated about 922 incidents, bringing that total to 5,519. They investigated 24 motor vehicle accidents, bringing that total to 194. And they issued 102 traffic citations, bringing that total to 786.
Great. Any questions for the chief on the police report for July 26th? None. Next is the K-9 MOU. Dave, I believe you had some.
You took a look at this pretty late, right, last week?
Yeah, we did, and then after getting comments back, the comments you provided to me with regard to the bargaining units council, we've addressed those and provided those back through Peter Ruth in my office. I think Brandon has those. Is the next step to send them to the chief, or what do we do next? I wasn't sure how we wanted to communicate those.
Probably send us to Terry, right? Or
Yeah,
Sergeant Williams.
You need to run for the
Yeah.
police department, it's gonna send them to Officer Williams.
Okay. I think they're ready to go. I think that all the board members who looked at those got back and said they were comfortable with those changes, so I think it's ready to go back to Officer Williams.
Okay.
Sergeant Williams.
Thank you. Chief, next.
The next thing is the Department of Justice grants. Last week, Sergeant Williams gave a presentation about grants that we were looking for the approval of the board to apply for. So now it's time to approve the resolution.
Chief, I do have a question on that. So, do you know on the grant, is it, once we apply for the grant, is the grant approved and money is given to the township for those items or what?
Yeah, so Sergeant Williams showed me some paperwork from the Department of Justice, their grant program. It's an acronym, I think it was ASAP, not meaning as soon as possible, but it's another acronym.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from what I read on it, when you're approved, the money goes into that account. And then as you buy stuff, you're allowed to take money out of that account to pay for it.
Okay, and because, the one concern I had about it, and listening to what Sergeant Williams said last week, is that we're talking about $400,000, so that's something that we don't have the money for in 2026. And we have to be an approval of, if we do approve the resolution, it would be to make sure that the money is advanced prior to any purchases for equipment.
And we understand on our side that if anything other than that, even if it's awarded, it doesn't get used because
Yeah.
it has to be up
Has to be,
and
yeah.
we understand that.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, that was the only question I had.
So is the grant already written? Is the grant already written?
No.
Because the deadline is, what, 2 weeks from now?
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So who's writing it?
Sergeant Williams.
Well, I have. You have a comment about the grant?
Come on, if you go on.
I just had a quick question. I'm not.
You have to go to the witness
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Thank you. My name is Ann Johnston. I live at 282 Alpath Drive in Dillsburg. And forgive my ignorance, but I don't know about this grant. Could you please explain it in a little bit more detail? Excuse me for just taking your time. Thank you.
So actually, I have not. Do you have more information? Because Sergeant Williams is the one who looked into this, gave the presentation. Do you have any other reasons?
I'm missing it.
Just a grant through the Department of Justice. It's a grant through the Department of Justice for equipment for this department.
Is it for ICE enforcement?
That is one of the, it's not for ICE enforcement, but that's one of the qualifications qualified for the grant.
Can you explain that?
What,
Does that mean that we, our township would be enforcing ICE's requirements?
well, we are partnered with immigration, which makes us qualify for this grant.
Any other comments on the resolution number 2026-2022, or 22?
If you'd like, I could just give a little more.
Sure.
But, okay, so one of the requirements is that the local police department does partner with ICE through the 287G grants. However, that money could be used for hiring personnel, upgrading detention facilities, and purchasing tactical technology like drones, body armor, license plate readers, and the like. So it's really used for something, can be used for something other than ICE enforcement. But that is a prerequisite of being eligible for the grant funding.
Thanks, sir.
I move to adopt resolution number 2026-22, a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Carroll Township authorizing the signing of the FY23 Bridging Immigration-Related Deficits Experience Nationwide Biden Program Round 2 Grant and designate Brett Steelhammer, Chairman of the Board, and President Black, Township Managers, as the officials to execute all documents and agreements to the Board of Supervisors of Carroll Township.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to adopt resolution number 2026-22 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next is the most contentious item on the agenda.
So several years ago, Carroll Township and Dillsburg both voted, as the Board of Supervisors and their council voted, to set trick or treat for the last Thursday of the month from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So requesting the board to set trick or treat for Thursday, October 29th, 2026 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
I move to set trick or treat night for Carroll Township on Thursday, October 29th, 2026 from 6 to 8 p.m.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to set trick or treat night for Carroll Township on Thursday, October 29th, 2026 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's figured line. Any opposed? The motion is approved.
We will also push the information out on our Crime Watch on Facebook to get that out to the community.
Thank you, gentlemen. Anything else for you?
I have nothing else, sir.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the open bill list. This is the approval of to and including August 5th, 2026.
I move to approve the open bill list dated August 5th, 2026 is submitted in the amount of $70,946.76.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a couple of questions. The police cleaning is quite a bit higher than the township cleaning. Is there a reason for that?
They can clean twice a week, and we get, clean once every 2 weeks.
Okay, because the budget is the same amount for both.
They're sloppier.
You
waited till they left.
They're gone, so.
I think they get clean Tuesday and Thursday,
Yeah.
and we get, I think, Friday every 2 weeks, every other week.
And also, we put swing mats on the walking path.
The swing mats were for the already playground outside here.
Okay, it says they're on the walking path on that open bills list.
We can look and correct that, but no, the swing mats were for the new playground outside here.
And, that was the end of my question.
Any other comments or questions? No. Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to, oh, sorry, you had a motion in a second. All those in favor of a motion to approve the open bill list dated August 5th as submitted in the amount of $70,947.76 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman, just to point out in that open bill list, you saw the payment to council musters.
Thank you.
That'll settle that.
Okay.
Superintendent.
Next is the approval of minutes. First is the July 6, 2026 work session minutes.
I move to approve the July 6, 2026 Board of Supervisor work session minutes as submitted.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve the July 6, 2026 Board of Supervisors work session minutes as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next is the July 13th Board of Supervisors meeting.
I move to approve the July 13, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes as submitted.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to approve the July 13th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes as submitted, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next is the subdivision report. Ani?
Yes, so I first I have to go to Brandon for that one.
Yeah, so for the Northern North County School District financial surety release, we talked about this last week. The project that involved the improvements there was never completed. There was some project on the elementary school, but that didn't involve these public improvements. They abandoned that project, starting a new one, so this is requested for release.
The one thing we did talk about last week, did you inform that they probably would likely need to record a termination for that project?
Yeah, I spoke with the school district and also the solicitor. We're working together with the district to come up with, since some of that was done with regard to the elementary school building itself, it's not just an abandoning of the whole plant. So there's most likely going to be a revised sheet or something showing what is not complete. It may come before you for a signature, just to close that out.
Okay. Any other comments on this item?
I move to release $687,635 from the financial security being held for the Northern Elementary Project for Northern York County School District on the PLIGT account agreement dated July 23rd, 24. This will reduce the plate agreement to 0.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to release $687,635 from the financial surety being held for the Northern Elementary Project for Northern York County School District on the PLIGT account agreement dated July 23rd, 2024. This will reduce the PLIGT account agreement to 0. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. Next is Chestnut Grove Development LLC.
Yes, so this project, last week we received the developer agreement from the developer, so I defer to the legal opinion today on that process.
The developer agreement form is fine, it meets our requirements, the only thing that's left to do is set the amount. So, and he has that, we're good to go.
Yeah, so last week we also reviewed the revised cost estimate from the developer. So the cost estimate including everything for phase 1 except the water and sewage improvement. Okay, so the construction estimate amount is listed on the agenda itself in the amount of $1,771,446.10. So with a 10% contingency on that, the final amount will be $1,948,590.71. Excuse me, that's a long one. So that was the recommended amount from my office.
I move to enter into a developer agreement with Chestnut Grove Development LLC Phase 1 Final Subdivision and Line Development and authorize Brent Stillhammer, Chairman of the Board, to sign the agreement. I move to set the surety establishments for Chestnut Grove Development LLC for Phase 1 Final Subdivision and Land Development as follows. The estimate for bonding for the site improvements for the above referenced project, as prepared by Lem Lachine Excavating dated April 12, 26, revised on August 5th, 26. The estimate identifies the probable cost of construction to be $1,771,446.10. Therefore, the amount of security to be posted for the site improvements should be established at 110% of the probable cost, or $1,948,590.71.
Before we go on, and I'll read the second part if we have to. There's no issue with reading both those motions at the same time, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
As long as they're clear.
Oh, sorry, okay.
No, that's all right.
I was going.
I read it as one, then I was like, maybe that's, okay.
One update to that, Mr. Chairman, there's missing, Lem Lachine Excavating should be JBH Excavating.
Okay.
JDH.
Lem Lachine should be JBH, as the company JBH.
So I modify my motion to change to JDH.
You need to abstain too.
The only question I had is the developer agree with that amount?
They do.
They do?
That's the amount they provide to us. So we review all the cost limit.
You just verify that they're
So both parties are agreed, okay, that's all I had.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to enter into the development agreement with Chestnut Grove Development LLC for Phase 1 of the final subdivision land development plan and authorize Brent Sailhammer, Chairman of the Board, to sign the agreement, and also to set the surety establishments for Chestnut Grove Development LLC at $1,948,590.71. Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. On to unfinished business. The first item is the update for Berkshire Hills Park. And I think at the last work session, we talked about this, and Frank, your update was?
Yeah, I reached out to Larry Cutright to provide him with what went on with the township meeting and a request to see if the Civic Association wanted to continue to provide the park to the township based on some of the challenges and liabilities we discussed in the meeting. And Larry's answer was yes, they would like to proceed.
So, based on the solicitor's recommendation, we would still need a valid board vote from the Civic Association, correct? Is that correct?
That is correct.
You would need to provide some evidence of a valid vote for that. So, I mean, however you would like us to proceed with this, I'm fine with that. I just want to keep this item moving along. So if you guys have thoughts, you brought something this evening.
Art Parr, 3 Sheffield Drive, Tillsburg. My first question is, 2 solicitors ago, he approved the way we did the vote. And then now the last 2 solicitors are not approving it. So where does that stand? How can it be approved 2 years ago and now not be approved?
Well, we really don't have a say over approving or disapproving how you hold your vote. At the end of the day, your agreement, your bylaws say that you have to hold it in an open meeting. And I understand what Mr. Pykosh may have said. I'm just going off of your documents, which could make that potential vote challengeable by one of your members. So that's the only thing I'm pointing out, that it could in fact be challenged because it was not conducted in accordance with your organizational documents.
Let me explain why we did it that way.
I understand, not to cut you off, but I did talk to Mr. Cutright, and quite honestly, I applaud what you did to get a better participation. But that doesn't change the fact that you didn't change your organizational documents to allow you to have it done by mail.
Okay, so that's the only thing holding us.
That would be the only thing, yes. Yes.
Okay, we were prepared to have another vote this coming month.
Yeah, if you want to do it in person, you can get the quorum, great. If you want to change your organizational documents to change it so you can do it by mail, great. Just whatever your documents say is how you should conduct your.
Would it be possible to hold the vote here?
I think you have to call and say, hey, don't they have to call and ask if they want to use the room?
Yeah, if you wanted to use the meeting room for a civic organization meeting, you'd have to line it up with our office, but you could conduct that meeting here if you wish to. With scheduling it through Jessica in the front desk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that way there would be no question about the meeting, about the way the vote went on, that the meeting was held.
And just be aware, I don't know what the board feels on this, but just, if you do the vote, that don't mean automatically that the township's taking it.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, but I understand that's the only hurdle we're looking at.
No.
Correct?
From the solicitor's opinion, I believe, right?
Again, it's up, and yes, I think that on your side, whether or not it was done correctly or not, to be offered is the only thing I had a question or concern about. The other thing I said to Mr. Cartwright is this is a policy determination of the board. They don't have to take it. And so I guess the question is, before you put yourself through the meeting, does the board want to take it? I mean, it seems like you're trying to get to the point where you have this vote, and then it's still up to the board. So I don't know if the board is willing to give any guidance on that to maybe save you some time and effort if they're not willing to take it.
So the other legal question also is that lot 39 is owned by the original development corporation. So, I guess there would be a legal hurdle if there would be like quiet claim deed on the Civic Association to get that to include into this. So I think that's the second hurdle legally from the township side that we were looking at.
Okay, I heard that the township may be willing to take that and then found the quiet,
Not quite, the quick.
quick.
I understand what a quick claim deed is, but if they don't have title, and if you don't have title, you can't convey title. So if it's in the name of the development corporation, you can't convey someone else's land, because I will tell you, York County will not record that. I've been through that fight too many times, if it's not exactly right. So I don't know if the township could, I mean, we couldn't do the quiet title because we don't have title to that land if you can't give it to us. Again, that may be something you want to look at with your council to see if you feel you do have good title to it or not.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can I,
Mr. Chairman.
that said,
Yeah, I've said it a few times here, and I still haven't changed it. My opinion of taking on this park as part of a township park. You know, one of the things that when we take a look at development in our saldo, if there's someone who is going to establish a park, we have ordinances within saldo that this park doesn't meet. And I think the board really needs to consider that. You know, the saldo chapter 435, article 7, section 43E4 states regarding park that the site shall be located and designed to conveniently access proximate public utilities, sewer, water, power, etc. However, no part of any overhead utility easement nor any above-ground protrusions of an underground utility shall be permitted in active play areas of the site. If we require that for any of our parks in our development, if we're looking at taking on this park as a community park for the township, that has to be considered. You know, there's challenges with parking for this park, for residents, power line issues we talked about, Lot 49, the vote. I think there's a lot of liability here for the township to take on this park. And I don't think it's a good idea for us to do that. I think it's a perfect community or neighborhood community park, but not for the township.
and to add to that, I don't think that as a municipal park, that this would meet the zoning requirements. Because based on 450, 416, which is the parking requirement, there's all-street parking requirements and the schedule. At a minimum, they would need two parking spaces per picnic table, and their pavilion holds, I believe, 8 picnic tables. And so that parking space schedule is actually a composite, so the number of spaces that should be added for the 16 for the picnic tables, plus the 1 or 2 per acre for just the general use. There isn't space on that parcel to create those parking spaces.
Maybe I wasn't aware of that. And this is just a general question, not specific to this park. So the number of parking spaces is determined by the number of picnic tables that are in a pavilion?
It is.
And so if I have 8, do you currently have 8 picnic tables in your pavilion?
Yes.
Well, we were removing all the picnic tables, so there'd be no.
That's my question. Like, it's based on parking spaces, why would I just pull the picnic tables out?
Well, why have a pavilion then?
Because it keeps the rain off my head.
I know, so you're gonna sit on the concrete?
People can use camp chairs.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if there's a little.
Do we allow camping in Pleasant
No,
Valley?
camp chairs.
Chairs,
Not camping, camp chairs, like a chair, folding chairs.
Yeah.
Like, if I wanted to take my,
I think we should be more focused on removing the requirement that ties parking spaces to picnic tables.
So one thing you gotta look at, this is not a park as what we look at in our township as being a park. It can be converted to be that. If you need 16 parking spots, you could find spots to do it. You know what I mean? It's not set up that way.
Where would you find it?
Another important thing to look at is the price. I mean, where are you gonna get one for a better price?
exactly. Okay, we have no prospect.
So just jumping in with regard to parking, under public parks and playgrounds, it's 1 space per half acre, i.e. 2 spaces per acre. I don't see about picnic tables.
Look in under 450, 416E, and there is a schedule of required parking spaces for recreational facility, picnic area, 2 spaces per table.
Yeah, like I say, we're gonna remove the tables, because
Now there's an even bigger question of what happens when there's a conflict between the number of picnic tables and acreage.
So what was the use description? I hated.
Parking requirement.
Right, in that table, there's a use description, and then it gives you the word.
I have it
Oh,
here.
it's all street parking should be required in accordance with provisions of this section prior to the occupancy of any building or use.
So there's a table in section E, and you scroll down to public parks as the use, and you go over to the parking space. What use did you find? I'm not seeing the.
It's under recreation facility.
A recreation facility,
The recreation
which would be different than a public park or playground. So it's a different use when you go to the definitions.
How is a park different than a recreation facility?
I can look up the definitions and read them to you, Glenn. It is gonna be, let's see where the recreation facility, there's all kinds of different recreation facilities here. There's ones for athletic fields. And when you apply the parking, to answer your question, if there's a combination of uses, you add those to come up with the total use. So if you have a pavilion that somebody could be renting with all the tables, plus you have a softball game, or, you go by the different uses and you apply those. Okay.
That's why we're
and some people have complained about, the power lines shocking people. Well, those same people that complain about that walk their dog there every day. Their dog has 4 feet, it's not wearing shoes. So that dog must be getting a lot of shock, Maybe we should call PETA.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
we actually have an ordinance that covers that.
Thank you.
Not having overhead utility easement on a park. So that, for obvious reasons, that is a standard.
And what you're saying, this is old, I have a lot of your neighbors that go to that park. Yeah, so, just wanted to mention that.
That's good.
Okay, if you want to, please, come up to the podium.
My name, speaking township ordinances first. My name is Paul Kerrigan, 17 Ashley Drive, and one of the things I've noticed that for a park like this, it says there should be safe access and a road that is 24 feet wide. Now, if the access is Marlene Street, that's 27 feet, that'll work. But the problem is, that land and that slope, you'd never get past ADA to be able to do anything with access from Ashley Drive. Now, the street, Creek Road is 13 feet wide.
19.
Oh, I'm sorry, 19 feet wide.
Thank you. Vicky Church, 17 Ashley Drive. I'm just jump in here, thank you. All right, Paul is referencing a second zoning issue, potentially. Before we move to that though, I'd like to know, since when are the tables being removed? Because when Paul Linick gave the cost estimate, or the benefit for the township, you included the picnic tables.
That's not a township issue, you guys can, feel free to talk about
But
that.
when was it even stated that they were going to be removed?
My comments, I made it very clear, my comments were not specific to Berkshire Hills Park, it was to parks in general,
Okay.
based on the number of parking spaces per picnic tables. I did not say Berkshire Hills Park, I said parks in general. If you would like to have a specific conversation about the Berkshire Hills Park, feel free to, if these gentlemen are willing to talk to you after the meeting, you can do that. We're not talking about that part.
Okay, well, we still have, with regards to the parking, we still have the item, let me get this straight. Public park and or playground. Per half acre, i.e. 2 spaces per acre, is required. There's approximately 4.23 acres currently, plus an additional half acre if we take the 2 deeds, and I'd like to also address the deed issue, Mr. Jones, in terms of outstanding issues. But if you take 4.23 plus 5.5, you're up to 4.73, times 2 brings you to approximately 9.4. You want to call it 9, you want to call it 10, call it what you want. But that would be required based on the zoning. Fair enough? Is this true? Correct?
That's the way the ordinance reads.
Thank you. So that's with regards to parking. So there is a parking requirement that has not been met at our park because it is all grass at this time. With regards to 45354, open space or common open space, land use and design standards in our zoning. If you go to item A, number 6, it says the following: active non-commercial recreation areas such as playing fields, playgrounds, courts, and bikeways, provided such areas do not consume more than 25% of the minimum required open space land. This is the important part. Playing fields, playgrounds, and courts, oh, excuse me, wait a minute, I'm getting myself mixed up here. Hold on, I just jumped. Paul, where was the 100 feet? Wait, there are 2 items. Bear with me here. This is, I'm showing 19 feet there. The 100,
It was a setback, I believe.
is it in the saldo? No, it was the 100, no, it says 24 feet is what's required for the road. Shoot, bear with me here. Where was that? Nuts. Here it is. It is in saldo, Frank. So this is an additional saldo issue. Thank you. So Frank referenced item E, number 4. I'm also going to include item 1 in that section. And it says the site shall be located and designed so that safe and convenient access shall be provided to all existing and proposed inhabitants, people that live there. Additionally, each site shall have at least one area available for vehicular access that is no less than 24 feet in width. I'd like to provide the following: a 19-foot measurement on the road, which is Creek Road. It's 19, it's not 24. So that would be an additional saldo. And you can see, I took that picture this morning, it says 19 feet here, and then it goes to that side, and that's the fence for 65 Creek Road. So they would have 19 feet rather than 24 or more. That's that item. So those are 2 saldo issues. Then when we move to zoning, Sheila has cited the first item, that being the parking spaces, so we've taken care of that. The second zoning item is this 45354. And the item that is important says playing fields, playgrounds, and courts shall not be located within 100 feet of abutting properties. There are 4 areas in question with regards to that: 65 Creek Road, 16 Ashley Drive, 18 Ashley Drive, and Lot 39. We won't discuss Lot 24, which is next to the creek, because there is no real play area there, but that could be considered another item. So you have 4 properties that are within this 100 feet area where no play zone should be. And it also goes into parking facilities, and that the same shall also be permitted, but does not count in about open space, which isn't really applicable. But the playing fields require that there be 100 feet for the abutting properties. How that would be managed in the zoning, I'd like to know. And should this all be run through the zoning council and have them provide their information on it? And with regards, we do have 2 titles. Mr. Baranski had told us that the 2 titles for the main part, as well as the second area, the half acre that's on Ashley Drive, needed to be combined. So I believe that might be an outstanding issue also, Brandon? Does the township want one deed?
We haven't gotten that far in the talks yet to talk about that.
Okay, but that could be an outstanding item, because it was stated as a concern by Mr. Baranski in his March document to the township, or April document. from what I understand.
It was written, I mean, but it hasn't been discussed by the board.
Right. So basically, we have zoning issues, we have sound issues, and we have common sense, and that's where I'm gonna come down to it. It's not about price, it's about people's well-being. Dave, you're concerned about human trafficking in children. You're concerned about the families that live in Fagers and the noise that occurs there. What about the people that would go to this park? And there is the nuisance electrical stimulation. And we do have rules on the books. You're just gonna ignore those for the well-being just because this is free? Does that mean that it's good? Does that mean that it makes sense to take ownership of for the public? That's where I'm coming from. You're going against your own rules that the township put in place, obviously for the health, safety, and well-being of our people, and those who come as well to utilize a public space, which is what it would be if the township had ownership. It's another situation with it being a private park, and we haven't discussed even the railroad. We haven't discussed the creek and the fencing issue. So those are items that should be addressed and thought about with some level of common sense. That's all I'm asking.
The one thing I see about it is you need to look at this piece of land as a park in a rut and see if it could be made into a park that would be suitable. Right now, we're flipping back and forth here. It's not an acceptable park at the moment.
You've stated that then.
But it doesn't mean that it can't be. That's the point, because we already know that we have to put money into it to make it into a good park.
Mm-hmm.
And that, comes into consideration, but maybe we should have somebody design what the park would be on that piece of land. And then, once we have the concept, rather than a rough piece of land, we might be able to do something with it. And I think it could be used.
Okay.
Because there is a lot of land around, just like out here, but a lot of this is like spoken for, for ball games and things like that. That over there, if you kept it where it was not gonna be scheduled ball games and things like that, have it where the kids could go over and play ball anytime.
But your salvo says there should be no playing under
Well, whatever
electrical
it would
easement.
be used for.
Well, what could it be used for if you're not supposed to play under the electric easement when there is a 250-plus easement and there is very little land otherwise that's beyond the scope of the easement area? And if you want to consider the hill an area to play on, it's not ADA compliant, nor is Lot 39. So where are they, what value and use is this going to provide the township? And why would you even have?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you,
Okay.
but there's no action scheduled on this evening. It sounds like from the representatives of the Berkshire Hills Civic Association, and I appreciate the comments and the good discussion on this. It sounds like there's gonna be more discussion on this. There's action going to be taken by the Civic Association. When that is done, we can have this discussion at a workshop and figure it out, okay? But we do need to keep moving this forward. If you came to me tonight and said we don't plan to really do anything, we probably would have shut this down. But the fact that you're making an effort to do that means there's more debate on this. We spent 18 months on a comprehensive plan. We can spend a couple of months on a park.
Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just, two observations. One, this was developed a long time ago, is that correct?
Yes, in the 80s.
Yeah, so I don't think we apply today's ordinances. We would apply what the ordinances were at the time because that's what was approved under. So there's a real good argument this is non-conforming use. This a non-conforming use in a non-conforming lot because it was developed under a different set of ordinances and not today's ordinances. The other thing to keep in mind is my understanding is this park will revert to the township if the Civic Association disbands or stops being in existence. We're gonna hit all these questions then, so we might as well figure them out now if they ever go away. So I think the real question in my mind is, does the township want it now because it's being offered? For whatever reason, I mean, we can logic this and look at the ordinances and so on and so forth, but I think it's really a policy question about whether or not you want to move forward or not. Because there's a lot of legal questions in my mind about what ordinances apply, when they would apply, what could be applied today, retroactively, so on and so forth. you can argue this all you want. I mean, I'm not sure, that's my legal opinion, and I think they're valid questions as to what the status of this park would be in 2026.
Just one more item to add to that, it's important. It's the first energy aspect.
Okay?
And if there is going to be any development or changes to that property, basically, engineering study needs to be provided to First Energy.
I understand that, and I've had municipalities do that and gotten approval to put either parking lots or different things under those power lines as long as they don't change the grade and they don't affect the power lines. So that's not insurmountable. Again, I think it's a question of whether this board is willing to take on this park in whatever capacity it deems fit. I think that's really the question that has to be answered in the near term. That's really where I think you're at.
I just have one closing statement. As far as parking, there's enough room there to make probably 15 spaces if you made it right along Creek Road. And the other thing is, we're donating the property. We got a promise of a $5,000 donation for the fence. And I just want to say, if it's that bad of an idea, you'd see more people from Berkshire or Hills here complaining, saying they don't want it. But we always have the same people. And so, it's holding up progress for a bunch of kids to have fun. That's all I got to say.
Just a moment. Larry Pepper at 17 Sheffield Drive. I was not aware of the rules for parking and whatnot. My question to the board is, I understand this was established in the 70s, and the property then was deeded, I believe, in the 80s. Are we in any violation as it stands with the ordinances that the township has for us having a park there?
So the answer to that is you're non-compliant, you are grandfathered in, so you predate these requirements. Now granted, it's currently a private park, so there would actually be a change of use when you go to a public park. So I think that's where it may come in that, we have to talk more if we would need zoning really, because we're changing the use and you may or may not need to comply with current ordinances when you change the use for that.
And that's what I've assumed, is it being that is a change of use, then it falls under the governance of Salvo.
Yeah, I didn't look through all the definitions of whether a private park versus a public park is, again, there's a lot more layers of the onion to peel back here. If the board is interested in moving forward, I think that's why I'm saying that's the basic question that has to be answered. Because I think it will take more time and more money and effort to figure this out if the board is willing to take it. That's just my opinion.
So it is on the agenda. I mean, if you wanted to take an action, you can do that. There's not anything there. I mean, you may or may not. It's up to you. It's on the agenda.
Thank you. Any other comments on this evening?
So the way I hear it, then we're gonna wait for the Civic Association to do a vote.
Do you guys know when that's scheduled for, or when it would be scheduled for?
Sorry,
What, the vote that you were anticipating holding?
it would probably be like the middle of next month. We have a picnic coming up, and we would do it at the picnic.
Okay. But as soon as you get a date, can you just let Brandon know?
Okay, thank you.
Next is Barry Isaac and Associates Engineering Contract. I think we're pretty close, right?
Yeah, we actually,
We're real close.
Tell me the chance.
Dave and I kind of went through some of the things that we had brought up over the past couple months regarding what I didn't like with the terms and conditions, specifically with indemnity. We came up with language to change and to come up with tying in their general liability insurance up to a certain amount. And we did float that past John Lewis, the senior vice president at Barry Isaac, and they were, said they were agreeable with what changes that we have currently made as a draft, as long as the board approved those changes. So, and we did get a copy of their certificate of insurance. I asked Brandon if you could put that on the shared drive for the board members to be able to see it, if anybody wanted to see it. That covers the general liability insurance. So I think that it's good terms and conditions for them, as well as it protects the township to make sure that if there are any mistakes from the firm, that it's not going to be coming out of the pockets of our taxpayers. Okay. Good. So, Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the 8.10.2026 final revision of Barry Isaac's terms and conditions agreements with their certificate of insurance matching these terms.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to approve the Barry Isaac Associates engineering contract dated 8/10/2026 with the final revisions of the terms and conditions with the certificate of insurance, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved.
I have one question, Mr. Chairman, for our solicitor. So since their terms and conditions, it really doesn't need a signature. I think for their sake, because I know they were talking to Brandon about signing the terms, I don't think he needs to sign the terms.
I think there was a proposal that had a signature line that incorporated the standard terms and conditions, so I think that may be what they're asking for a signature.
So, I'm sorry,
No, please do.
we use the DocuSign channel on the platform, so, we send it through that and they attach the signature page at the end.
Okay, so it says attachment for terms. Okay, got it. Because I was just curious about having to sign the terms, that's typically not.
Now, I may need to resend it again because this whole thing lasts for only 60 days. So let me go back and take a look at that, and then we may need to resend that to you.
Yeah, you probably have to update the terms and conditions to the current, so.
That's correct.
Okay. Thanks for working through that.
Okay, next is the Stony Run Village subdivision decision appeal. Let's skip to item number 3. Anybody want to take this?
Maybe explain what it is.
Well, this is, the board held an executive session to discuss whether or not they'd like to continue with the appeal to the Commonwealth Court of the Stony Run Village subdivision appeal. That was discussed at executive session, and the question is whether what the board wishes are.
And this is a follow-up to, was it last month?
Last week.
Well, it was 2 months ago. Was it last month that we authorized the solicitor to? Okay, last month we did approve a motion to authorize the township solicitor to file an appeal to the Stony Run Village decision.
Yeah, and the reason why we did that also was to make sure that there was a short timeline that we were up against the wall to either file it or not file it in order to gain the continued excellence of our new solicitor.
And so now we still have not filed that, correct?
The appeal was.
I'm sorry, yeah, sorry.
And there's a pending response due to the Court of Common Pleas, after which time the court will file a final order, so to speak, and it will go to Commonwealth Court. So there's a bit of a time frame here that's to take some actions.
Sure. So, Mr. Chairman, based on our executive session, I would like to make a motion to appoint our township solicitor to authorize him to discuss a potential settlement agreement with the developer.
Have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to, I can't read my writing there. Points? Solicitor to discuss a potential settlement agreement with the, what is it, appellant? Appellee? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved.
No.
Oh,
Said aye.
oh, okay. Which way? Aye.
Yes.
You voted yes, okay.
I was just looking at this, the one thing I was wondering, there's a deadline on us, to switch over to, denying the appeal or whatever.
Right now, what we're doing is the court issued what's called a 1927 order that says, what did we do wrong? So that's what your previous counsel is putting together since he wrote the appeal. So that's what's going to be filed, and that'll go to the Court of Common Pleas. They will final, and they will issue a response, which typically is, look at my decision, it was all in there in the first place, and then that will go to they'll close that up and send that up to the court, the Commonwealth Court.
How long would that be?
I think that Wednesday is the final, the last day of the 21 days, and then a week to 2 weeks after that, it should make its way to the Commonwealth Court. So
we have to vote on it now, which we did.
Correct.
Because we're out of the window till next month.
Till we get a response back, yes, that's it. Yeah.
Should the minutes, note that I didn't vote because I had previously accused myself?
I think I would just say my continued abstention due to my conflict of interest, which is a record with
This is a vote
the manager, yes.
for this, yeah. Okay.
I did not vote.
No, that was your silence. Okay. Silence is right.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
You voted yes, for unanimous on the, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Chelsea Markle, 151 Quill Drive. Just so I can update my neighbors on what I think I understood there. It sounds to me like you have filed an appeal, you're going to be giving more documents to the county court, and then they're going to then pass that along to get a date set for the Commonwealth Court to hear the case. Is that?
Yeah, the Commonwealth Court would set some briefing schedules and so on and so forth. Essentially closes the action at the local level and transfers it to the Commonwealth Court.
So the resident's attorney could still interact at that level, state level?
If they have not filed an appeal yet, the interveners are no longer permitted legally to participate.
The second question is, I thought I heard a vote on a settlement agreement?
Potential.
Potential settlement agreement. So what does that mean exactly?
We would discuss terms with the developer as to an acceptable way to resolve this appeal without taking it through the court system.
So he would pay the township X amount of money to make it go away, is that?
I don't know that it necessarily involves the payment of money. We're just gonna have to explore terms and see what they would be willing to do and what the township would be willing to do.
Okay, thanks.
Justin Side, 40 Harbor Lane, Tillsbury, PA 17019. I thought I heard you say, so if the interveners are already on the appeal.
No, the interveners are on the appeal at the local level. They have to join the appeal to the Commonwealth Court.
So the documents that are on the court, on the.
It says intervener, but you're not a party unless you file something with the Commonwealth Court. That has not been done.
Okay, so what do I tell my attorney, Clark?
I think I would talk to him about what you folks have the right to file an appeal also at the.
So we didn't join your appeal?
No. Right now, as far as I know, these interveners did not file the appeal to the Commonwealth Court.
Okay, all right.
You're a part of the appeal at the local level, at the Court of Common Pleas.
All right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Heisinger, 31 Hartman Lane, Guilford, PA. One other small piece that I would just want to make sure we understand. So if you're going to pursue a potential settlement agreement, would our council be permitted to be a part of that?
Again, you're not a party to the Commonwealth Court appeal that's being negotiated.
And that's what I want to know, is that is the hinge on whether or not we would be party to that as well.
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on Stony Run Village, Stephen? Moving on to the next two agenda items, Northern York County Fire and Rescue Agreement.
So actually, they had a concern that when she was reading the most final agreement that we had, a concern about moving our payments to the first of the quarter instead of the end of the quarter, that on January 1st, we might not have enough funds to make that payment.
Depends on what our carryover is.
Yeah.
We might not have enough to.
So historically, what are the payment cycles that we've done today?
They were always done at the end of the quarter.
At the end of each quarter?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the fire tax, she doesn't usually send out the bills to like around February 14th. So the money really doesn't start coming in until about the beginning of March.
Okay, so that's what they were used to.
So you're saying, like, if for whatever reason we would not be, but the Northern York Fire and Rescue cleaned that out as of December 31st, and then we structured the agreement so the first payment would be due January 1st, we would have no money to give them. Right.
Not the
Gotcha.
whole,
Okay.
we might not always have money, but maybe not the whole.
Yeah. Correct. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Installment.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is just starting more modification next month.
Sorry.
Well, look, we did it right.
Was that just a standard protocol, or was that something that the fire department was requesting?
I think that that was what Hillsborough was doing, and so I wasn't really aware of the fact that we were paying at the end of the quarter, and it made sense. And somehow or another, it's one of those things that just kept getting swept along until they noticed it today, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't sound like it's a major issue. Okay, so I feel comfortable saying we should be able to get that done in September. Okay, any other unfinished business? On to new business. Oh, yes, sorry, Dave.
I was supposed to contact Robert Gay regarding the house on Campground Road. He wanted to find out what the progress was, and I contacted Bob, and he has a permit, he said, and he also submitted drawings that were made from a licensed engineer to the township. He said he works 60 hours a week at his job, and he sent me photos to see what his progress was and how things were going. He explained with all the rain and the heat that we had in it, like the last month or two, it really made it hard for him to do the work he had to do. And he also stated that he wore out a pick digging rock. So the photos that he gave to me, you can see the place is really full of rock. So it's believable that that happened. He said he doesn't have any help to do this digging. This is awkward digging. And I talked to him about, having the place under roof again by, before winter moves in. And he said that he didn't have the help to dig, but he has help that will work with him when framing the roof and fixing it up where the tree fell on it. So when I talked to him, he was working on the house this last time I talked to him. And he did send me, more photos. And, you know, to me, it looks like he accomplished a lot. And his work looks good. It doesn't look like amateur work to me. So I think he's doing a good job. I think if you would have let him, see if he can get it finished up, because he's very close now to, pouring the footer and stuff. He had trouble with the water. He sent me pictures where the hole that he dug had a bunch of water in it, and that, which you couldn't pour concrete and water. So, you know, there's a lot of things that were holding him back. So in any event, it looks like he could very easily, I think, get the thing on the roof before the bad weather sets in. So.
Yeah, I mean this in the most sympathetic way possible, but he stood here and said, I'm gonna do, we did not stipulate that he has to hand dig this with a pick.
No.
He chose to dig May, June, and July, knowing there was gonna be heat and rain. And this has not been going on for like months, this is like years, right? I mean, this thing has been sitting there for years, Dave.
You know, are we gonna hear in the fall that, you know, it was too cold and then we got snow?
Well, I could show you the photos. If you see the photos, you can tell.
Yeah, so even to date, I verified, there has not been one building code inspection on the foundation or the footer yet. So still to this point, over 2 months and a week and a half later, there still hasn't been one building code inspection done on this.
The inspection for the footer, that would be after the concrete's poured?
Prior to the concrete.
Prior to it. Well, I could let him know that.
I'm sure he knows, he has the permit package describing where all the inspections come into play.
Okay. But I think, you know, in my opinion, that he's getting someplace. I think he'll have it right.
If you're gonna talk to him again and let him know, I would talk to him before September 8th. Because
Well,
we should put this on the agenda.
I can call him today maybe,
So what would we want by September 8th?
Back
I
on
mean,
Yeah, he's gotta be,
back on his schedule he provided the township.
yeah. And if he can't meet that,
but he's already, I mean, he's gonna have it under roof July 31st. That was, we're already past where they would have brought it into compliance, so. I don't know.
how about, okay, I'm desperately trying to work this out.
I know.
How about we do this? We'll put it on the agenda next month, unless someone has an issue, we'll put it on the agenda. He can come to the work session and plead his case. If he makes a compelling case, we'll talk about it then. If not, this is a dangerous structure investigation.
I mean, we gotta think about the complainants who made the complaint, and they're living with it, and they can't see one thing that's changed. The house is still dilapidated in the same condition, other than a hole that's a little deeper and cleaned out. That's the only thing that's changed out there. And, you know, those people made that complaint. There's gotta be some kind of remediation for their complaint. There is a violation out there.
And if there's anybody that gets injured from that structure, that comes down for some reason, a windstorm, some of the storms we've been having.
Yeah.
Now we've got somebody who have made complaints, it's been on record, they've made complaints to the township, that it's a dangerous structure, and we haven't done anything based on our ordinances that we say we do.
well, you know, part of the thing that the condition's so bad is a neighbor's tree fell on it, so that didn't do it any good.
How long ago?
I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
a year ago maybe or something like that.
Tell me come to the work session.
Maybe, you know, maybe it would be good if somebody goes with me to go out and look at it. Just because that's better than looking at photos.
I mean, we're not building inspectors. What would you be looking for there? We're not structural engineers, because, I mean, that picture, we can see what he did. I was deferring to our building code inspectors who would have been out there to follow up. They have not been out there yet, because they're not to that point.
See, the thing I'm looking at is if you can get it under roof, you know, you guys are saying September 8th, that might be a little tight, but, I was thinking by the time the bad weather starts rolling in, that you have it done. But I think he can accomplish that. And I think, he's trying to do it. I mean, I don't think he has the cash to go and hire a contractor to do it and put the thing back together. But he is doing good work, in my opinion.
It's just digging.
What's that?
There hasn't really been other work other than digging at this point. There's nothing been done.
Well, it looks like they put, new flooring in, or else the roof. I don't know what it is because of the photos, but
It would not be because that would require a building code inspection. I have none. So there has been nothing done that required an inspection in there. Yeah.
Well, in any event, I still think it's worth letting them see if we can get it done. I don't like cutting somebody off. The weather was bad. I guarantee. He had no air conditioning that he could go into, take a break, and then come back out, unless maybe he could sit in his car or something. But I know he was trying to do his best. Plus, he's working 60 hours a week. That makes it tough, too. So,
All right. Anything else?
well, I'll contact him. I'll go out and do a visual on it.
Okay.
And have that for the workshop next.
Good.
That's one.
Any other unfinished business before we move on to new business? Seeing none. Next item is hiring a company to review the 2026 general fund transactions to balance the account. We talked about this last week.
EFA did get a cost estimate from Smith Elliott, Kearns and Company to take a look at January to determine where our issue is in balancing and reconciling the account. Again, as we stated last week, it's not just January, it's each month progressively after that. Cost is $1,500 to $2,000, is basically $300 an hour. They estimated it would take them amount of time that would be around that cost.
What was the total cost?
Pardon me?
What was the total estimate?
$1,500 to $2,000. Yeah. So based on that, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve hiring Smith, Elliott, Kearns and Company LLC to review the township's general ledger and bank statements for January 2026 to find discrepancies that is not allowing the township to reconcile and balance our general fund account. This cost estimate for such services is approximately $1,500 to $2,000.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to hire Smith, Elliott, Kearns to, I didn't get that whole thing, but hire Smith, Elliott, Kearns and Company LLC to review the township's general ledger and bank statements for January 26, 2026 to find the discrepancies that are not allowing the township to reconcile and balance our general fund account. Cost estimate for such services is approximately $1,500 to $2,000. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion is approved. Any other additional items to be discussed this evening? Thank you, sir.
There was a conversation went around about, and from our solicitor, I know I asked him some questions. We've had a lot of MOUs from Logan Park and Fire Department and K-9, and we've got a lot of documents flying around through emails, and Dave had said, hey, we really need to talk about a process here when we're working with documents and revisions to documents so that we don't have just a mess of them and who has the last one. Does everybody know about it, so on and so forth. What I had suggested to him was to utilize a process I've used in my past in my business is create a shared document, a share folder like we're doing currently with the Board of Supervisors. And I'll call it a WIP folder, which is a work in process folder. And that's where documents such as an MOU, if you would be created by someone, placed into that folder by Brandon as a township manager, and the township supervisor can work off of that document. Being that's on a shared drive, all five of us can be in the document at the same time and make necessary changes, and the document control process in Microsoft will keep track of that, and keep track of all the different comments and changes that each one of us would make. It would make it more concise, more precise, and make everybody in the board aware of what's going on with that document. And probably more importantly for our solicitor then, to be able to see a document with everybody's changes in it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we don't miss anything, because it's different people reviewing it.
Yeah.
So make sure we're all on the same page and we're talking about the same document, the same version.
Do we need a motion for that? I don't think so, do we?
No.
I think it's already been.
Yeah.
I was just saying, it's created, up and
Okay.
running, so.
Brandon did create it, but I know it was conversations regarding back and forth with the MOUs, and
Yes.
a good way to kind of keep it structured.
What took so long to suggest it?
Well, we were getting
There was some confusion.
foot thick folders for a while.
And then here's some employee changes.
Or is it?
Yeah, employee changes.
Oh, yes. Any other unfinished business? Was it unfinished business? No, sorry. Any additional items? Seeing none, any committee reports this evening?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Lydia and I did meet with the Dillsburg Borough, Jamie and Matt, on July 27th. And we are planning to meet with the Logan Board of, but that's probably going to be in September because there are just too many schedule conflicts between now and then. Dave and I attended the fire department steering committee meeting on July 27th. And they are starting to work on their 2027 budget. They've hired a part-time business manager to kind of help them get more professional in how they're handling their books and stuff. They talked about their farmers fair. That's their biggest fundraiser of the year. And they are seeking volunteers to help in the kitchen. So they actually have a link on their website to volunteer your services. So if anybody is inclined, please feel free to step up and help them out. And I also attended the Dillsburg Area Authority meeting on July 21st. They talked about a lot of projects, and one of the things that they're kind of grappling with right now, I don't think that they figured it out yet, but some of the new constructions have basically two water lines. They've got the automatic fire suppression that by law cannot be turned off, even if they don't pay their water bill. So part of what they're looking at is the costs of how to maintain those lines, and because they will have to do maintenance, and they will, even if they're never triggered by a fire, they still have to flush the lines periodically and check for leaks and that stuff, and those are not metered, so they're still trying to figure out how they're gonna charge for those. It is a work in progress, and it's something they haven't really encountered until some of the more recent construction, the townhouses and apartments. The capital area cog, that was on July 20th. And I did talk about that a little bit last week. They had representatives from Unilogic who spoke about the upcoming ADA compliance requirements for municipal websites and mobile apps and that sort of thing. And I did sign us up for a complimentary review. I have gotten results from them, but I haven't had time to look through those, but I will forward them to the board. And I think that this would be something that, we just need to be aware of and, potentially look at from a budget perspective, possibly next year, to seeing kind of what we need to do. The other thing that they talked about was potentially, if the CapCog was interested, if enough people were interested, was developing a template that everybody could use. So you would have your own custom content, but a template that would be a cost savings for actually implementing these ADA compliance changes. So there'll probably be more to come on that. But their complimentary review didn't require that you go with them. It was really just for your information kind of thing. Prior to the regular delegates meeting, there was a public safety meeting, and I caught about 2/3 of that. And it was a lot of fire departments, by the time I got there, that were talking, fire chiefs and representatives of some of the municipal fire departments and volunteer fire departments. And one of the things that they were really talking about was the shortage of volunteers. A lot of them have had to hire full or part-time firefighters. And so, it's a common thing that the number of paid firefighters is continuing to trend higher, which is also something that the Northern York County Fire and Rescue, it's a problem they're facing, and they talk about pretty much at every meeting. And I think I've mentioned it a time or two in this meeting as well. But one of the things that a few townships have implemented is a tax incentive for active volunteer firefighters. And so there were a couple of the municipalities that in that meeting, and I don't remember which ones, that said they have implemented those tax incentives that seem to be appreciated by the volunteers. Whether it translates to a large number of volunteers, I don't know. But it's something that more municipalities are starting to look at based on what.
Did they mention what taxes it was property?
Property taxes, and I think you can do it on the income as well. So I think it's up to the municipality how they want to implement it. I looked at it a little bit online, just to see a little bit more about it, but I couldn't tell you all of the details.
Not bad idea.
Good. Just two updates from me on York Adams Tax Bureau. Went to that monthly meeting on 27/27. They basically just covered operating cost reports in Bureau. They are working on approval on bids to build out a second floor for IT department, and they're going to hold a special meeting on 8/31/26, and delegates requested to be there, so I will attend that meeting. The last one, which was a big one here this morning, the LGAC, the Local Government Advisory Council, was held today. Brandon Slatt and myself attended in person because Carroll Township's ordinances were in the agenda to be discussed. Prior to that, what came up, Stacy Newcomer did a presentation from UPA. That was kind of informational. The ordinances that were up were Cadorus Township subdivision, land development, their saldo. That was passed. Springfield Township had a data center. There were several different issues that were brought up from parking and idling, which didn't meet other requirements, parking requirements, solar requirements. And they had no vibration language in their ordinance, which they felt they needed to, so that was not adopted by LGAC. Then we had the York Township, had commercial shopping to residential high density, that was adopted. Newberry Township had solar energy overlay district, that was adopted. But then Newberry Township also had data centers and data center accessory use. Several items were brought up. Defining long-term safe water, building facade, low setbacks of 200 feet, water language issues, so that was not adopted. So we came to Carroll Township. The main comments on Carroll Township's adopting of the data center came around the facade language that we had in the ordinance. The board talked about, well, you really shouldn't, from a legal perspective, say, okay, tell them how to, how to make that place look pretty, He said, if you don't do it for your warehouse, you shouldn't do this. We pointed back out that we actually do have it in our warehouses as well. They said, oh, okay. One guy said, didn't know. And it wasn't a big sticking point, but it's, they're kind of hitting everybody that has any kind of facades, and they even said they're kind of looking at that more and saying, we really don't have the right to tell them how you want it to look, and we said, well, and we do want it to be aesthetically pleasing within, within our township. When I take a look at, what we had presented in our draft, the language really isn't, saying that it is a requirement. The language, is very similar to what we have with our warehouses. And it still says, that the design of the building facade is still subject then to the supervisor's approval. So I think there's some conversations or communication that can happen if they ever come up. Okay, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. The second one they brought up, which we talked long about, was the community benefits agreement, the CBA that's in there. They've got a lot that have come up with community benefits agreements. And what they're suggesting is to take that out of our ordinance, that we really should keep that as part of an agreement at a conditional use, right? So, some of the things we were bringing up, we were telling why and how we came up with the ordinance, and it has a multitude of different municipalities approved ordinances by whether it was York County or Cumberland County or other counties. This is why we kind of put some of this together. And quite frankly, they also said why we would like to see that in the ordinance. Supervisors come and go, right? It's just the nature of the process. And having it in the ordinance protects our residents from the perspective when it comes to making sure that there is a community benefits agreement. Now, granted, from their experience with data centers, most of the developers in data centers automatically will come up with a community benefits agreement, and it's beneficial for them to do that. What they finally suggested is that we contact and talk with our solicitor regarding it and see what our solicitor says. Should that be in the agreement or not, and that's what they suggest to go with a decision from that. I sent, after the meeting here this morning, it was about an hour and a half, finished up about 11:30, and we got back, I sent it over to Dave, our draft that we submitted of our ordinance, and posed to him that question regarding the CBA, which was point number 5, or V, section V on page 32 of our zoning ordinance amendment. Dave?
So as a general rule, I don't like to put in things that require developers to enter into agreements unless it's with regard to public infrastructure and the like. Part of it was to say that they would establish terms leading to financial reimbursement for regular third-party compliance inspectors and reporting, which I think we could tie to a different section. That's not really community benefits. That's a kind of a reimbursement of the requirements of the ordinance already, and it's called post-development reimbursement or whatever, administration, whatever the case may be. But I think that's better left to a discussion with the developers when they would come in as to what they could do and what they're willing to do, because you can't, if you require them to spend a certain amount of money, pay a certain money, whatever the case, it feels a lot like what we call contract zoning. And it sounds like they're buying their approvals. So leave that out of the agreement. If they voluntarily offer something, then that's acceptable. And that's, the courts have looked at it over the last 30, 40 years. So that would be my recommendation, is to back that out and maybe rework it a little bit on the post-construction development. I can certainly look into it more and if you wish to, but those agreements are better left negotiated during the process, not required.
Yeah, and we've kind of talked about it. I think that's probably a wise decision to follow that. When I took a look at other approved municipalities on the data center ordinance, specifically looking for the CBA, there's only one in our local area that does have it in, and that's Lancaster City does have it in theirs, but all the other ordinances have been pulled out based on solicitor feedback, so I don't think it's a big deal. It did say that if we do a CBA, that there should be some language within the CBA regarding all agreements go with any new owner should the developer of the data center sell the data center off, and make sure that it does follow with any other new owner of the data center that would go into our township. Let's see what else was there. So overall, what ended up happening is there was a motion from one of the board members to approve adoption of our ordinance based on 2 comments. York County Planning Commission said they were kind of on the line, but really when we talked about it, everything else that we had in there was substantial, supportive. These 2 items weren't really big items for them to say, no, it's not approved to adopt it. So they did approve to adopt it. Next step, it goes, there's a meeting with York County Planning Commission. Brandon will be going to, is it next 2 weeks? No, next week?
The 18th, yeah.
Yeah, 18th. I won't be able to come. I'll be on holiday. That's what we call it when you're retired. So, and most likely that's going to be probably the same 2 comments that they'll discuss. And then from that point, then Brandon, it goes back to the board or the planning commission.
Yeah, it would come back to the board at that point.
Okay. So I think really that's good news. We have a couple minor things. I think it's, easily to get through. There was one thing that the chairman did bring up, or Jesse brought up, was that there was our governor had passed an act, the GAC, GAC?
Yeah, that's what they call it, just their general conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry. The governor passed an act on decommissioning of solar energy. So what they're saying is York County Planning Commission now has to go through all the municipalities who have decommissioning of solar and look to see if it meets what the governor has passed in that act. So they're saying if there's anybody going out there, which we won't have anything going to them for changes on decommissioning of solar energy farms, they're not going to do any work on them because they first and foremost have to determine what this means for York County. And once they do it, they'll put it into their newsletter, they said, and I'll get those newsletters off to everyone. Yeah. That was it.
Right. Any other committee reports? Okay, no zoning hearing board meeting this month, no planning commission. Township office closed for Labor Day on September 7th, which means we will be here for our work session Tuesday, September 8th at 6:30. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of a motion to adjourn, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, have a good night.